online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound, the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show with myself, Colin and Bob. You'll notice I haven't numbered it this week.
No, I was waiting for that bit.
We're not counting, but if you are counting, it was 8 last week.
OK, thank you for that. Yes, we have got lots of good stuff coming up, so we will be reviewing the win over Sheffield Wednesday and the win over Birmingham City. 6 points.
2 wins, back to back.
2 wins, back to back since we were last on air. What is going on? How fantastic. What a time to be alive.
First away win in the Championship, which followed the first win in the Championship, whatever next.
And obviously lots has happened actually since we were last here. So Gareth has been rushed to hospital to have a back operation. Sheffield Wednesday have had their points deduction halved, which meant that we sort of like were a little bit of a yo-yo yesterday in the division. We were 23rd for the beginning, then dropped down to 24th just before kick-off. But luckily, our victory last night then lifted us up to 22nd.
And a new signing has arrived, also called Gareth.
Yes, indeed, with an A rather than an E. We are going to be hearing on tonight's show from Pete Couhig, the Chief Financial Officer of Wycombe Wanderers.
And lots more besides, also from the manager as well, who spoke to Matt Cecil on the Chairboys Live this week as well, which will be fantastic to hear from him and see how he's doing in his recuperation.
We'll be hearing from David Wheeler and Scott Cashkett as well.
But first, it seems a long time ago, doesn't it, Saturday?
Yeah, I know, we always say that, don't we? But it did. It was a while ago. The game against Sheffield Wednesday. It was a right blowy old affair at Adams Park. It definitely was a bit of a match as well. Whereas some of the other games, particularly like Watford, Norwich, Reading, you've really got the impression of quality, sort of like from the opposition, and very much we lifted our game to that quality. Saturday's game against Sheffield Wednesday, it was a sort of bottom of the table scrap. But again, we were fantastic. We competed well throughout, and definitely were well worth our win.
And when did you know Gareth wasn't going to be in charge?
So that was when I arrived at the ground. I suddenly heard whispering rumours that Gareth wasn't around. So I thought, right, actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and speak to Matt Cecil, and actually managed to get an interview with Matt. And he was being very calm about it all and was saying, well, yes, Gareth has had a problem with his back for quite a while now. It's all in hand. Everything is fine. Not wanting to panic everyone. And of course, Dobbo has been in charge before. So an away game at Accrington back in 2014, I think it was, when Gareth was ill, which we drew. So this isn't completely unprecedented, but clearly, actually, then what we've learned since, and what we'll hear from Gareth a bit later on in the show, is that actually, it did sound slightly more dramatic than possibly it was being made out before the game against Sheffield Wednesday.
And so nice to get the win. Such great reward for, as we've spoken about in previous episodes of the programme, where refereeing decisions haven't gone our way, where goals that should possibly have been given haven't been, and all sorts of other things which have gone against the team's favour.
Yes, and I think it's such a good reward, because all of us who have seen all of those games, whether you are part of the club or whether you're a fan, we knew that actually, we were all in a bit of a false position, and and everyone was sort of saying, there've been some horrible media, sort of like slatings of Wycombe over the last couple of weeks. What on earth are they doing in the division? One journalist saying, we were stinking out the bottom of the Championship or something, which was just vile anyway. But we all knew that actually, well, no, we weren't being completely outclassed. We were just being a little bit unlucky, maybe slightly naive in those first couple of games, but really we were playing really well. We were competing, and certainly we weren't getting some decisions, and we were just being a little bit unlucky. Last 2 games, that's completely changed. We definitely deserved the win over Sheffield Wednesday, and we deserved the win last night as well. Probably Birmingham edged it in the first half, and clearly they went in 1-0 up at half time, but second half performance from the Chairboys last night was absolutely fantastic, and Birmingham couldn't cope with us.
And so you spoke to the assistant manager on Saturday.
I did indeed, yes. So I started off by asking Richard what part Captain Cook had played in the victory over Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, so it was something that we looked at the start of the season. As we were framing the season, we spoke about Captain Cook's 4 ships. So when he was out on these voyages of discovery, we said this is a voyage of discovery for this football club. And the 4 ships were called Resolution, Endurance, Discovery and Adventure. And we said these are the 4 traits that we're going to need to go and attack this division in. There's certainly going to be a sense of adventure for us. We're going to have to discover and learn very quickly, and endeavour and resolution, resilience is what this club's all about. So we've got to bring that to the fore, because that's our strength, and I certainly think that those 4 things came into play today in our performance.
Definitely. I mean, for periods of the game you were under quite a lot of pressure and you soaked that up so well.
Yeah, absolutely delighted with the way we defended today. They threw caution to the wind and quite early in the second half as well. So we had to deal with that, and I just tweaked the formation a little bit just to deny a little bit of space, and they were reduced to sort of throwing crosses in. They didn't really create anything clear cut. But the 2 centre halves, once again, magnificent in dealing with danger, and Rocky commanded his box well today. So from back to front, I thought we put a real shift in.
David Wheeler's had quite some weeks, so he was helping to feed school kids on Thursday and Friday, and then scored the goal today.
Yeah, maybe that's karma. Maybe he's got a little bit back for what he deserves. He's a terrific lad, Dave Wheeler, a real deep thinker, and I really enjoy having conversations with him. He's a bright lad, and very intelligent. So absolutely delighted for him that he's got the goal today. It's something that we'd worked on, we'd spoken about, and he's nailed it when we needed it.
Really pleasing for David Wheeler as well.
Yeah, absolutely. David Wheeler, as we said, did fantastic things last week, and I know that he will say, that actually, he was only a small part to play, but he was behind the initiative that ended up where the club were giving away free takeaway food, and I also spoke to him after the game as well. I won't keep you very long, because I know that you've had an ice bath and I'm cold, just even thinking about that.
Yeah.
What a fantastic result today.
Yeah, really, really chuffed, really happy. I think we deserved it today. I think we defended incredibly well all over the pitch, and we were dangerous. We had a few other chances that on another day go in. So, yeah, I think it's positive moving forward.
We're so used to seeing either JJ scoring from a corner or Anthony Stewart putting them in. Are you trying to add your name to that list?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I've done it in the past, so I'm happy that I've got the goal today, and hopefully I can keep adding to that.
You've had a fantastic week as well. Clearly, you've scored the goal today. You've also been instrumental in the meals campaign on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. I mean, my contribution was relatively small in comparison to a lot of other people. So much went into it, from Rob running with it from the start, and people donating the food and donating their time. It was a huge collective effort in the community that brought it all together. And the thing that comes out of it is that lots of hungry kids, lots of hungry people in the community get fed, and there's nothing much better than that from a moral point, from an ethical standpoint, and for the club to have that impact in the community, I think is such a positive thing.
It's one of the wonderful things I think that football can do, a football club can do.
I couldn't agree more. And I think we have that platform, as a club and as players, that we can do that with not a great deal of effort from my perspective. So yeah, I'm really pleased that we got it done, and hopefully we can move on towards the Christmas period, when people are really gonna need some help, that we can do whatever we can.
Does sound really nice of David Wheeler to, as we say, not only get involved with the free school, the free lunches, but also, of course, to play such a key role in that game as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. He did play really, really well. Obviously got the goal, and yeah, just the whole team just seem to improve every week. In particular, the loanees have been fantastic, but what's really, really impressive actually is how the other players have come up to their level. You're not watching it really thinking, wow, possibly with Anish Mehmeti slightly, who just is one of those talents, but everybody else, Dennis Adenaran just fitted in so well, and the other players are playing so well around him, which again is credit to them, because some of these guys obviously were with us in League Two, and they're competing in the Championship. Scott Cashcat looks like a Championship player, possibly ready to go up up to the next level.
Fast forward to Wednesday night, and so eventful as well. Obviously, we knew at this point that Gareth wasn't going to be in charge for this game, but we heard before kick-off that Sheffield Wednesday had their points deduction halved, which meant that Wycombe started the game bottom of the table.
Yes, I know. And Dobbo did admit that actually he wasn't aware of that beforehand. So, because you did wonder, well, is that actually going to be the thing that's going to, sort of like spur them on tonight? But no, apparently, because it didn't actually happen until about 7 o'clock, from what I understand, that the news came through that Sheffield Wednesday's points deduction has been halved. I don't think the players were particularly aware of it. Well, certainly Dobbo said that he wasn't.
It must have been a bit of a concern as well that to go behind as well.
Yes, yeah, and you did think, it wasn't say like Norwich or Blackburn or anything where you then thought, oh goodness me, okay, this is now going to be quite a tough game, because we had competed well in the first half, albeit you could see that Birmingham had got probably slightly more skill and talent in their side, but we definitely had the belief. And the thing that really changed the game was the substitutions. So Anis Mehmeti and Fred Onyedinma came on, and just suddenly Birmingham couldn't cope with the speed of Fred, of Scott Cashket, of Daryl Horgan, really, really fast. And those three around Bayo, and then with Anis Mehmeti as well, who just, slightly creates havoc really wherever he is on the pitch. The opposition just couldn't deal with him. He is going to be some star one day, and and everybody seems to be saying that in the club, that we've managed to land a really good player there.
And there's a key save from Ryan Alsop, and Joe Jacobson had a good free kick as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, JJ again was, particularly in the first half, was fantastic. Was at the centre of a lot of what Wycombe were doing, and not only set pieces. He had this fantastic run into the penalty area, which Phil Catchpole, who was sitting near me, compared to John Barnes in the Maracana, and it was a little bit like that. Unfortunately, with not quite the same end, so it did end up going just wide. But if JJ had scored it would have been one of the championship goals of the season, let alone Wycombe's goal of the season.
And all the drama at the end.
As well. Throughout the whole second half, and I was trying not to jinx it, because I've thought these sort of thoughts in so many of the other games where it hasn't then gone our way, but definitely it looked like the sort of game that we would steal a point, and you were thinking, I can see maybe that there is a goal coming, and it's going to come for us, and and we're going to hang on, and we're going to get an away point, and we're all going to be delighted. And so the fact that then actually we managed to get a winner was just was out of this world.
And again, you spoke to Richard Dobson after that game.
Yes, yeah, had a chat to Dobbo, and just asked him for his general thoughts on the game.
Dobbo, that was wonderful, and for all of us that have seen so many of the Wycombe games this season, it's no surprise, because we knew that actually we were better than everyone was saying that we were.
Yes, yeah, we've certainly grown into the level, and we're showing that we're more than competitive at this level. I thought second half tonight we were the better side. We deserved to go on and get the win, and we've been saying to the boys all season, so far, you're capable of playing at this level. You've got to believe it, and some of them are making a real good transition from sort of lower league players into championship players in a very, very short space of time, which I'm delighted with.
I mean, what's amazing as well is that actually how the players that were there last season, and even some of the players that were with us in League Two, have grown into the Championship. They look, alongside players like Dennis Adenor, and just like they belong.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, you look at the stories, and people like Curtis Thompson, who Notts County felt he wasn't good enough for them, and look at the way he's playing at Championship football now. I'm delighted for these boys that have come back after disappointment and are now proving everybody else wrong. But that's what this club is all about, and we give people opportunities. It's up to them if they want to take it, and our boys have taken it with aplomb.
I thought we were, we competed throughout, but definitely it changed when you made the substitutions. Anis was fantastic, and Fred as well.
Yes, yeah, I just felt we needed a little bit more quality in that final third. We were getting opportunities to get the ball into that final third, but at times it wasn't sticking. And Fred obviously brings us that. He's got great ability, 1v1 in the final third, and I think we got the ball up to him, and he kept it for us and gave us a little bit of a platform around the edge of the box. Anis is going to be a really, really good player. I really like him, and I've obviously worked with a lot of young players over the years, but this lad's got something about him that I think is quite special, and I think he's going to develop into a really good player for this football club, and so pleased to give him plenty of game time tonight, and I think we saw glimpses of what he's capable of.
Tell us what Gareth said to you.
During the game or afterwards?
After the game.
After the game, he's over the moon. He's delighted again, you know. So for him, he's watching it, and it must be tough because, you know, watching it and not being able to influence it is, you know, he'll be kicking himself at home. He'll be desperate to get back out here as soon as he can. But yeah, he's happy, and I said to him, you know, I've got to speak quickly because I've got to do the interviews. I'll give you a call on the bus, and when everything's settled down, we'll have a chat.
I mean, you know, he kicks every ball when he's standing on the touchline. I can't imagine what he must be like at home, particularly presumably when he's being told that he's not allowed to do those things at the moment.
Yeah, I'm hoping Donna's tied him down at home and kept him still, because you're right, you know, he's headed so many balls, and he's kicked me twice last season. He's actually kicked me as he's trying to kick a pretend ball on the touchline and apologised a couple of times. So I'm going to have to start wearing shin pads on the touchline, I think, when he's back.
He's very honest, Richard Dobson, and he also puts images in your mind that actually you possibly would never have thought of before. And I was so pleased and so excited to speak to him that I've actually forgot Dennis Adeniran's name for a moment as well, which was slightly embarrassing, but very good to hear from him. Afterwards, I also spoke to Scott Couhig, who of course got the equaliser last night.
Scotty, very good to get the win, another win what we deserved. Watching the ball hit the net, and then looking at the clock and thinking 90th minute, it was like, I'm just proud of all the boys. Another win at 7 points in the last 3 games, and just we want to carry on this form.
Tell us about your goal. So Fred's shot, did it deflect off your leg, or was that definitely a shot from you?
Yeah, so Fred's come in shot, and I do a lot of work with Dobbo when the ball's going across the goal, where I want to position myself in between the 2 defenders, and he's hit it, and it was sort of in my path, stretched out, caught part of my leg and went in. So definitely meant it, and I don't really care how it goes in. They all count, don't they?
It's definitely one of yours. It was a fantastic performance. In the first half and in the beginning of the second, you competed really, really well, and then the substitutions really changed the game for Wycombe.
Yeah, so Anis is young, and I don't think he plays the age he is, and he's going to have a great career ahead of him. But I think Fred absolutely changed the game, just with his pace and how we run the defenders. So very good. So with the boy they just played, obviously he's going to be a bit tired, and then bringing a fresh leg and just shows how the strength of the squad. People tired, fresh legs come on and make a massive impact.
Yeah, and I mean Birmingham couldn't cope with you.
To be fair, I was on the pitch, so
that's how it looked to me.
Slightly different view, but referees aren't really helping us at the moment. But I think it just shows the strength of our squad, of our team, the boys on the pitch, who everything's against them, and we're still fighting, and now the results are starting to turn for us.
Tell us sort of what happened when the final whistle went, and then also the celebrations in the dressing room afterwards.
So the final whistle went, and we won. So yeah, that and I think it was like a relief, always a relief. 1 goal, and you just want that final whistle to go, especially with a late goal. We had a little team huddle, like Bayo said a couple words. We're going to stick together no matter what the results are, and then in there, everyone's obviously tired, but a little bit of dancing, a little bit of singing, and then off now we've got the trip home.
Fantastic, that's what you want after a game. A little bit of dancing, a little bit of singing.
It really is. I found it interesting, his response to my point that, you know, it actually, after those substitutions, you were all over them, because very much that's how it looked from where I was sitting. But interesting that clearly, actually, as a player, you have a completely different view of it. And although Scott didn't say, no, it was still tough or whatever, that I think is really what he was implying. Just different, interesting how different the perceptions can be, whether you're watching or whether you're actually playing in the game.
Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers Show this week, we'll hear from Chief Financial Officer Pete Couhig, and Manager Gareth Ainsworth chats to Matt Cecil as well.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, and we were both lucky enough to speak to Pete Couhig earlier this week, and this came about after you is collared him too strong a word?
I was very impressed to see when I left Adams Park on Saturday at about 6:05. It was cold, it was chilly, and there was this guy basically sort of like lugging big bags of what I assume was football kit into the back of a van, and as I walked past I realised it was Pete Couhig. And so we had a chat, and I did say, look, I'm so impressed that you're doing this, and he was just, sort of very much like, well, he's a hands-on guy, so I then said, well, look, will you come in and speak to us on the Wycombe Wanderers Show? And so he came in on Monday afternoon.
I think he probably caught me maybe lugging one bag. It was probably a little bit of good timing. But, that's just how we were going to be. We're going to be hands-on. I think most American investor groups that have come over to England to purchase football clubs, with only a few exceptions, have invested passively rather than active management. And when Rob and I had started discussing how we were going to do that, one of the reasons it worked is, I had sold a company. I was in a little bit of a midlife retirement and, was available to actually manage the business and help run the business and live in it. It's just, and it's also part of how we've just run every business I've ever been involved with. Even the leaders of an organization got to get their hands dirty. Some of the great stories about Wycombe that really knew we were buying into the right club were, reading in that, Gareth and Dobbo and nobody at our club is afraid to do any bit of work that's required to be done. We probably have we definitely have the fewest number of employees of any championship football club and probably most League One clubs. And so everybody wears a lot of hats. And in order to get everything done, everybody's got to pitch in, for sure.
Gareth says it time and again. We're Wycombe Wanderers. We do things differently, and it's wonderful that goes completely through the club.
That's right. For sure.
Yeah, no, we are very impressed and very grateful as well.
And his positivity as well is something that's really come across in this period of games without a win. It must have been so beneficial, and something that you've noticed even obviously in your time at the club as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I think I've told Bob before, and Rob's definitely mentioned it. Rob and I, and I'm pretty sure Couhig means optimistic in Irish. We're among the more optimistic people you would ever meet. Gareth is equal to that as well. And the team went through a tough spell. We lost. Was it 6 on the bounce? And the entire team from player 1 to player 32, I think at this point, the staff, nobody on the other side, no one lost confidence. And in fact, the level, the way that the boys have played really raised people's confidence, which is kind of weird. But, this is our first year in the championship. It takes a little bit of time to find your footing. I think the boys found it very quickly and honestly should have had results earlier than we did. But told Alex Samuel earlier today, my confidence yesterday is nearly exactly the same as it was a week ago, just because how well the boys have been playing. You just knew the results were going to come. So I'm not going to say we got all the calls that went our way. I think there might have been a pen or two that could have been called on Saturday and given us a little bit more breathing room, but the boys took care of business.
And it was so deserved as well. I mean, particularly after, say, the Norwich game. I interviewed Gareth after that, and I really, I was fuming, and I wondered what I would find. And Gareth is amazing because he was still, sort of like bouncing around, and he was still so positive despite what we'd been through and despite the last-minute defeat.
Why wouldn't he be? It took a terrible call to beat us, and the team that we were playing, we were away at a Premier League team. Yeah. Yeah. They have been bouncing back and forth between the Premier League and the Championship for several years now. The amount of money that they have to spend because of parachute payments when they drop, and then the Premier League money when they make it. Norwich has invested a lot of money into their facilities and into their squad. And so to watch our boys not just compete against them, but really to be, at the end of the 90 minutes, every single person was disappointed that we didn't get at least 1 point. And so to do that against a quality opponent like a Norwich can give you confidence even in a loss, for sure.
It must be so pleasing as well that the players that you've been able to bring in during the summer as well in the close season, the transfer window.
Yeah, once again, Gareth and Dobbo did, and the entire team did phenomenal work. And there was a new addition. We brought Sam Grace on to bring some younger guys in who were already making an impact on the squad. Yeah, it was phenomenal work over the last few months. We did a lot of prep work, March, April, May, sort of scenario planning for what we would do. Andrew has been a tremendous help. We brought Andrew Howard in again to work with Gareth, Dobbo, Rob, and I on basically the squad management and helping to bring players in. Andrew did great work, very efficient, working with the agents and the players. That will fill out our 25-person squad for the championship through January. We've recently put a couple of the young guys out on loan who are already doing very well. Curtis Anderson has had 2 wins, I think, last week. Malachi got in this weekend. And so it's been really awesome to watch the development of this squad from, I think there were, maybe 11 or 12 players on the squad when I got here last July, and now we're at 32, 33, and the quality has improved drastically over the year, and most of the team are guys that were there last year too. I mean, you look at the growth of some of our players from last year to this year has been phenomenal. I mean, Curtis Thompson has been an absolute monster the last few matches. Scotty Cashkett just scores goals when when he at every level. So
he looks so comfortable.
Look, I got to tell you this: Bayo, the last couple of matches, we all thought that he would have an impact in the championship. To me, he's almost more effective in the championship against these center halves than the League One, League Two guys historically who may have had to put up. There's nobody like Bayo, but had to put up with similar type players rather than the typical championship forwards. So to see him out there, man, collecting the ball and dishing it off these past couple of matches, man, he's been a wizard up top. So good to see that happening.
Yeah, it has been, and exactly as you say, I think Bayo could probably do a job in the Premier League because he's that good at, at bringing the ball down, laying it off. He's a fantastic footballer and doesn't nearly get enough credit actually for that. I
agree. One of the funny jokes that gets, that he says is that I don't have good touch for a big man. I got good touch.
Yeah.
And he really does. I don't know anybody that really has better touch collecting a ball. I mean, he can basically catch it with his chest. And then, his feet and just dishing it off with his back to the goal. We created 2 or 3 or 4 chances on Saturday. So, to me, our team is a lot of fun to watch. And I know everybody wants to play tiki-taka and watch their center halves pass it back and forth 1,000 times. To me, that's the most boring.
Anybody wants to watch that.
They do. They claim they do. But after that match on Saturday, everybody's looking at the stats, and I can promise you, we feel proud when we win with less than 30% possession, especially because we are creating chances left and right up top, and we play exciting football.
Yeah. And the game,
maybe some people prefer to watch center halves pass it back and forth, but that's not us.
You don't get ruled on artistic merit in football. You get ruled on the number of goals you score, and we score goals.
Correct.
We deserve where we are. Definitely. You mentioned a little bit with regards to, say, development of the stadium. How is that going? And also, what are your plans for, you've only just got your feet really under the desk, and then fans obviously were taken away. What are the plans for when the fans are back?
Well, we had a fully formulated plan. There had already been some test events all over the all over the UK. There had been test events all over the place. Everybody in the football pyramid had come up with COVID-friendly plans and a way to allocate a certain number of seats given the restrictions. And that was kind of pulled off the table last minute. It was really painful because we were on the precipice of having supporters back in. And so to get that pulled back was very frustrating. On another level, because we have so much work going on around the stadium, it's probably helped us get some of that stuff done hopefully sooner rather than later at a little bit quicker pace. But what it also does is that it puts us more in alignment with when the digital infrastructure project will be finalized, will proceed when supporters are let back in the stadium, and that digital infrastructure is going to solve a lot of the problems that we've had historically with the ticketing software, the turnstiles. It's going to make that a whole lot easier now that everybody can be scanned in. I'm sure you've heard we've got 100 new display screens all over the stadium. I know everybody's been a little frustrated over the last 10, 15, 20 years that when they go into the suites, the TVs are possibly 20, 25 years old and don't necessarily, like most of our TVs, I don't think you can actually see the score in the corner because they're all analog and the world is digital now. So the screens are going up. They're almost, and we need the digital infrastructure to be finalized to be able to deliver all the channels we have. I think historically we've only been able to choose between 4 channels. Now we're actually going to have all of them, which would be fantastic. fantastic. Make it a lot better for people to show up early, watch the early matches, stay late, watch late matches, and sort of enjoy a day out at Adams Park instead of getting in your car and getting mad at the traffic. So anything we can do on that front. Getting closer to the light, the fourth pylon getting installed. One more special little surprise that we actually started installing today that will be up before the next match, so there'll be something for everybody to look forward to there.
Any plans for any tailgate parties? Because clearly you're from a bit of the world that does that very well.
Yeah, Chairboys Village was getting there last year, and we spent a tremendous amount of time and have been working on plans for a new, much bigger, much better Chairboys Village for everybody to congregate before the matches. Because one of the things that's limited people from getting here early historically have been, last year we had some tents. It wasn't much space, so if the weather was a little bit shady, it wasn't a good idea to come. But it's going to be a much bigger, expanded version. Well, when we choose to build it, because, when Boris canceled fans coming back in, that was really a moment where we had to consider. We got two different budgets approved, basically. One was no fans in, one was fans come in to the 2,500 level. And so, considering we've taken season ticket money in, we don't know how much refunds are. It happened 2 weeks with the window in the window. And so, we had to look at, what funds we had available to sign players, and B, the funds that we had dedicated towards certain projects around Adams Park and the training ground. And so, Chairboys Village, which is obviously being built for fans and attendance, is on, I'm not going to say hold, but it's not like we're pushing the pedal to the metal trying to get it done as quickly as possible. Though I do think we are, we're optimists again, right? So we'd like to have that done before the early spring, which is hopefully when folks get back into the stadium. And I really think we're probably nearing on a full year's worth of numbers. I think over the next 3 months, part of my background is statistics as it's applied to public policy. And so the more historical actual data that we're looking at, it will provide people who want to put in place cohesive, extensive plans for a variety of businesses, taking into account what those businesses have done to prepare themselves for existing in the environment versus just these broad-based shut everything down. Mm-hmm. Like they shut golf courses down, and golf clubs have spent 6 months preparing themselves and done very well. Like in 2 months, they came up with game plans on how to provide golf under COVID restrictions. And 3 or 4 months of activity doing so. And so I think hopefully the data will lead to better policy. Yeah. And I think it will.
And I think, without wishing to go into all of the politics of it, I think it's frustrating for fans in this country because we can see our friends across the Atlantic. They're watching NFL games, they're watching the World Series, and in Europe as well. Some fans are being allowed in, whereas here we have this mad thing as we had at Carrow Road, where fans were being allowed in to watch in a lounge, but weren't actually allowed to watch out in the open air. You're absolutely right with regards to golf courses as well. How on earth is that not being allowed at the moment? That just seems crazy. It's frustrating for everyone, and it's almost as if everybody in football, because even Norwich, to be fair, had to let fans in. They knew it was crazy as well. Yeah. Everybody in football knows that it's a mad thing what's going on, and yet the government doesn't seem to see it.
Agree. It's just and look, I definitely realize that politicians right now are in a very hard spot, very difficult spot. I would just rather see them be more proactive rather than reactive. This is a terrible situation, but terrible situations like this provide for the greatest teachable moments that we can have. And so we just need to keep looking at the data, learning from what we've seen in reality, and adapting our lives to living with this until a vaccine is successful.
So what can you tell us about, if this is the right word, how the club is coping financially, without fans coming in?
Well, we've been extremely fortunate because moving from League One to Championship, our turnover via the league has increased substantially. Would have increased even more so had we had, 9,000-10,000 person crowds at Adams Park, 1,000-2,000 people going to away matches every week. It would have been the greatest year in Wycombe Wanderers history. It still is, but it's a little bit thinner than we expected, but we're dealing with it, and we knew, and one of the reasons that we went with the player budget that we agreed to was that we knew we needed to be very financially stable, and this year, just because of the uncertainties out there, everybody talks about clubs going out of business. We're not going to go out of business. I hope everybody survives, but if the doomsayers are correct, that might not happen. And so if it gives us an advantage just to be financially stable this year, that's why we did it. Also, we have a lot of faith in our boys, and the guys that got us this promotion last year are the ones that deserve to play this year. Now, we've definitely added to the squad, and there's some new faces that are really helping out. But the core of our team was the core of the team last year. So that was a little bit of an advantage as far as us being able to come into this year, not having to spend the kind of money that teams normally do going from League One to the Championship. We're still at a massive disadvantage. There's, Watford, their player wage budget is 10 times ours. Not sure what Sheffield Wednesday's was, but I'm almost certain it was significantly more than ours. But it's like, after watching football for so long, and especially the FA Cup and the Cup and the League Cup and all that stuff, is that you constantly see teams from League One, League Two, League One pushing championship teams, pushing Premier League teams. And so there is a bigger gap financially between us and the top teams of the championship than there is talent-wise. And so there's not a person involved in Wycombe Wanderers who doesn't believe that we can, on our day, we can beat any team in this league. And we all feel confident that over the 46 matches, we've got a damn good shot at staying up.
And I think one of the huge things that Wycombe has, probably more than any other team, is that belief, and that's what Gareth brings to it. And also just the fact that we keep getting written off by the media. At every season, we're favourites to go down. Doesn't matter what league we're in, and that just plays to our advantage.
After woke up Wednesday morning last week, I thought to myself, we may be favourites this weekend. And I looked up the odds, and sure enough, it was 3-1. Wycombe win paid 3-1, and we were not favorites. And that was a massive 6-pointer between the two bottom teams. And I was almost glad we weren't a favorite, because I love being an underdog. I have been my entire life, and I like proving people wrong. And everybody involved from Gareth through everybody, that's what they do. That's what we did last year. That's what we did last Tuesday. That's what we did Saturday. And that's what we're going to do the rest of the year.
And just finally, what's your main message, if you like, to supporters?
Enjoy every second of this. Make the best of it as you can. I know it's not as enjoyable as going to all of these matches, as going to the away matches. Keep the faith, really, more than anything. Keep the faith in our boys, that they can do the job, and keep the faith that we're going to be back. Coming from Louisiana, I keep remembering back to 2005 when Katrina hit, and it was a couple of years later, that first New Orleans Saints game in the Superdome after Katrina. I get goosebumps every time I think about it, just the joy that it brought to the entire town. And it's one of the reasons why both Rob and I are so adamant that we need to keep football going. We need fans back in undercoat, because it provides buoyancy for the population. We need some hope. And sports, music, plays, everything we do together as people helps us. And so the most difficult thing over the last year is the separation from community. And so I want that back. Bad.
And the club have been so good just in the last few days with regards to the school meals and giving the free takeaway food. You know, that again, that's been a wonderful thing that you guys have done.
Yeah, born from a conversation between David Wheeler and Rob, kind of got pushed forward just a little bit into Neil, onto Neil's desk, and Neil and Will and everybody else around the office. We made that happen in 5 days, maybe. Had pretty good take up at the club, and then we're able to do a lot of deliveries around town. Yeah, it's just yet another one of those examples of how special folks are with this club.
Really great to hear from, I was going to say Bob, but that's you.
Yes.
Pete.
Thank you very much, Pete, for coming in. That was really, really good of him. And just goes to show that actually if you approach someone in the car park and say, hey, do you fancy getting on Wycombe Sound? Then that's the way to go and arrange future interviews, I think.
If we take nothing more away from this show.
Is that how you get all of the old players, all the ex-players? You sort of like stalk them and then approach them when they're in like Sainsbury's car park or something, saying, hey, do you fancy coming on the Wycombe Wanderers Show?
I'd rather not say.
Okay. Love music, love talk, love Wycombe Sound.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers show. I almost forgot what the programme was called then, that was a worry. What's it called? I know what it's called. What's it about? It's about the Wycombe Wanderers
It is, yes.
Club.
That's
entirely.
what it says on the tin. It's one of those shows, Colin.
Mine went blank there. Final part of what's this? Still to come. What is still to come? We'll preview Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, previewing Nottingham Forest. We'll hear from Dobbo and Scott Cashgett before the Nottingham Forest game. But right now we're going to hear from the gaffer himself. Matt Cecil called up with him yesterday, which was on the Wycombe Wanderers website, and they very kindly allowed us to use it.
Morning, Gaffer. How you doing?
Good morning. How's it going? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. The more to the point, how are you? How are you feeling?
Yeah. Still in a little bit of discomfort, Matt. You know, it's quite a big up on the Friday, but the win on Saturday made me feel a lot better, and obviously. I've been in constant contact with Dobbo and the boys. Got my program off Kean for the rehab. In considering what's happened, great spirits and looking forward to getting back as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah, the last time we saw you, you were walking rather difficultly off the pitch after that draw against Watford. Talk us through then the next few days for you.
Yeah,
you're on operation table and not at the game.
Yeah, people have got to not ignore back pain, because I ignored mine for a little bit. You know, I've always been active and I've always had a little twinge in my back now and again. And on Tuesday, I'm feeling great. I ran up the stairs at the training ground, actually, just buzzing, because we had Watford on TV and I knew how we were playing. I was springing my step, as always. And as I ran up the stairs, felt something pop in my back. And probably the realisation of actually I'm not 25 years old footballer anymore. I'm in my 40s, and the back pain just initially came on, and people saw me that night. I was struggling. I was gingerly walking around, but obviously I wanted to be there for the boys, and I thought again we played superbly. I think, if I'm being honest, I think we played so well in the last 4 games. Sheffield may have been the least of our performances out of those 4 games, but obviously we deserved the win out of across the Reading and the Norwich and the Watford. You know, playing so well. So your mind's on the game, your mind's off the pain, and I suppose adrenaline got me through. I went for a scan the next day on the back, and they pulled me in and said, "Look, you're going to need surgery on this. This is a mess. Your disc has collapsed into your spinal cord, and it's not looking great, you know." So we talked about epidural, and I said, I'm a football manager. I don't want to be out of work. I don't want to be out for a period of time. And it was, there was talk of an injection maybe to get me through, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the upshot is on Thursday night, the disc had probably slipped so far into it that I was in a right mess, a real mess, and it's not like me at all. It was a hospital job, another scan, and as soon as they saw the scan on the Friday morning, they took me in for surgery within 6 hours. I was under the knife because they had to remove this disc that was going onto this cord that could have caused some permanent damage. So it was absolutely testament to our medical services in this country, and I can't thank them enough. Whether it's people who work in the private sector, but the NHS sector, wow, they have looked after me. No end, I was lucky to have one of our club doctors, Carl Walden, works out of the Royal Barks at Reading, and so it was nice to see a friendly face. But the amount of painkillers I was on, I don't really remember too much about it. But just wanted to get home then, watch the game in hospital, as we all know, and real put a smile on my face. Probably boosted me and got me home a bit earlier. But I've got strict instructions from both doctors and Rob Couhig, who rang me up to say stay at home rather than anything else. He said, we need you. We're going to need your energies this season, so make sure you're following doctor's orders. Going to be definitely out for tonight. We'll see about Saturday, but it's going to be sort of a good couple of months before I start getting feeling back in this leg with the nerves and the what's happened. So, but if anyone's got back pain, don't ignore it. Have a look at it, because it can turn nasty at the run of the stairs, So it was, But I mean, like I say, I can't thank our NHS enough, and I know we clap them for the COVID stuff, but it's moments like that you really realise that we do live in a great country and a fantastic place where they look after you if there's any emergencies. So great, and once more, the comments from the fans. I'm not on social media, but I do get told a lot about them, and so thank you to everyone who's commented and well wished me, because it's been a tough few days, but I'm really looking forward to the game tonight. I'll be on iFollow like many of you, screaming at the TV, and I'll be in constant contact with Josh Hart, our analyst. My phone will be on the whole game, and like I was Saturday, Josh is a direct link to Dobbo on the touchline as well. You can notice Dobbo's got the earpiece in. So we're in constant contact, and it's great to see the boys really competing. We can and we will compete at this level without a shadow of a doubt, and I firmly believe we will stay up. So really looking forward to that. But just want to see me on the touchline for at least one more game.
The boys were on their best behaviour on Saturday, though, with Dobbo, and you must have been so pleased for him, because he is somebody who normally stays under the radar, doesn't really get the limelight. And, as gutting as it was for everyone that you weren't there to see our first championship victory, it was quite sweet. I think for Dobbo, who's been here for so many years, to be the one leading the boys on the day.
Listen, I think that people over the years have always noticed that when we talk about who is in charge, we always say we. We always say we as a team, because I could not be anything without first Richard Dobson, David Waits, Cian O'Doherty. That four has been together. I mean, throughout. We are so tight. We've been through all the successes we've had. I cannot say how much they have put into that. And then you add in the rest of the staff, your Joshes, your Andys, your Sams, and Ali and Isaac, Steve, the kitman. I don't want to miss anyone out in that. Ben Sayers. We're such a tight staff, and when we talk about we mean we, and it's not. I'm the lucky one sometimes, or maybe the unlucky one sometimes that has to be at the front of it all. But it's a real team effort, and me and Dobbo have been together from the day of when Gary left. We sort of had a chat that weekend saying, look, we don't know what's going to happen. If it's you, I'll back you. If it's me, you'll back me. And we've stayed like that throughout. And I couldn't have a better number two. Honestly, I could not have a better number two. I've got the best number two in the Football League. He's one of the best coaches I've seen as a footballer. He's one of the best coaches, Dobbo, without a shadow of a doubt. He's very astute. He knows exactly what I want and puts it into footballing terms for the boys to understand on training pitch. He's magnificent with the set pieces, what we do. And it's funny because I rang Josh up on Saturday and I said, Josh, the midfield looked really leggy. I said, Dennis looks a little bit leggy. I said, he's a young lad, he's played a lot of games. And within 12 minutes, I think Dobbo had changed him in the second half. And I rang Josh, and Josh said, yeah, I didn't tell Dobbo. He said, but he's done it anyway. I said, so, I mean, those kind of things are like, that's what we see together. We both see the same things. And I'd have done exactly the same substitutions as Dobbo. I'm still in constant contact with him. We're FaceTiming every day. He had the tactics board on FaceTime the other day, and we're talking about how we're going to play tonight. So picking the team, I'm still in and the tactics. But it's never just me. It's there's always opinions. It's always me who makes the final decision if there's an argument or if there's a debate. I'll always make that final decision. But usually we're all on the same page. We're all, because we know what we are, we know how we play, we know what players we've got in the squad and what they're capable of. Usually we're really aligned in what we're thinking. Myself, Dobbo and Josh are huge on the tactics. We really work hard, and I've got to watch a lot more Birmingham than I probably usually would as well, which is good. So again, I've given some insight in what I think tonight. So yeah, win, lose or draw, it's us together. And lose, I'll take it. Because that's me as the manager. Win, I love everyone taking it. Go for it. It's great. It's a team effort, and I love seeing the smiles on their faces. And it's brilliant. It's going to be great to see him tonight again. And I'll be ringing Dobbo this afternoon. I'll let him have a little lie-in because I know he's got a late night tonight, but I'll be there with him. Don't worry about that. We signed Gareth McCleary from Reading. So Gareth was non-contract. He was a free agent, which was great. So there was no real major panic towards the end of the window. We had Gareth in the bag. We had a couple of other players as well who wanted, but Gareth came in, trained, showed just how fit he still is and what he can contribute. And this guy's played Premier League. He's played a lot of championship games, but more importantly as well, Gareth has played at some of the lower levels as well. He knows some of the boys. He knows how to dig in. He's a voice. He's going to be a leader, and he'll say how it is, Gareth. I think he's going to be a huge asset to us. 33 years old, so the bit of that experience that we're going to need. And he's admitted he's not match fit yet. He's going to need a couple of weeks because he hasn't played. He was in and out at Reading last season, but the way he conducted himself when he was out of the team was just superb. And it's the Wycombe way. He fits Wycombe. So yeah, Gareth's here to the end of the season.
Great to have some insight from the. I was going to say the hospital bed, but it's not really.
No, it wasn't quite from there. But also, really interesting. Lovely to hear Gareth speaking about Dobbo, in quite such, complimentary terms, and how very much, they are a team.
And you can hear from when you spoke to him earlier, and when you speak to him in a minute, that he comes across so well, and that he's got everything so sorted out, if you like.
Yeah, and I think it's very reassuring to know that actually, if something ever like this happens again, that we've got such a good, assistant manager just ready to step up.
And strange to think that the next game is against Nottingham Forest as well.
Yes, former European champions, Nottingham Forest. Just a small team up in the Midlands. But obviously, it is going to be a big game. I did speak to Dobbo after the game last night and did ask him about the fact that we will be facing such a big team as Nottingham Forest on Saturday.
A terrific club with great history, but history is exactly that. That's in the past now, and now there's two teams in the same division going to go toe-to-toe. There's absolutely no reason why we can't go there and upset them again. I want the boys to be excited about these challenges, but certainly not overawed. This is a wonderful adventure for this football club, but certainly one that we can take head on. And we've got a Wycombe Wanderers team full of belief now going into that game.
And will Gareth be next to you, possibly in danger of kicking you again on Saturday?
I'm hoping so, yeah. Whether or not it's on the touchline or in the stand, we'll have to see. We can't rush him too quickly. He's had a fairly major operation there, so we need to be careful with him. But I'm happy to do whatever's needed of me in the meantime, and the quicker he gets back and healthy again, the better.
Fantastic to see, as you say, the management team working so well, both together and separately.
Yeah, it is really nice. You do get the impression that they are very much together. They are a team. They are a partnership, and we are in good hands throughout the entire club. I think that's the thing that you can get from today's episode of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. We're lucky that we've got Pete Couhig and the Couhig family in charge. We're lucky that we've got Gareth and Dobbo in charge of the team,
and also really lucky that the club does things like providing meals that are free for the community as well.
Absolutely.
Takes the League One championship playoff winning trophy to houses of people that can't get to it, all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, the whole thing is just wonderful. Really interesting to hear from David Wheeler, who very much is not your stereotyped footballer, if you know what I mean. And the fact that in that chat that we had, he talks about politics and he talks about, morally doing the right thing. Again, that's not something that actually you hear lots and lots of footballers talking about. So, brilliant as well that we've got somebody like that in our team.
And fantastic to get those so things ticked, if you like. Got first away win, first goal, obviously first point, then home win, then away win.
Yeah, and I don't really think there's anything left now unless you then start thinking about, first championship hat-trick or, first time that we win 5-0 in the championship. Well, I think let's just, we've ticked all of the things off now. We can now just concentrate on having a decent season. Nottingham Forest, it won't be easy, clearly. It is an away game, but they also haven't had a very good start. And so...
Only 2 points above us on the table.
Indeed, yes. So currently 2 points above us. They've won 2, drawn 3, lost 5. Chris Hughton, who we thought possibly would have a very positive effect, hasn't really been the case. So they did quite well in his first 2 games, but have struggled since then. And as I think I've already said once today on Wycombe Sound, we currently do have, if you just take the last 2 games, we have the joint best record in the division because there is only ourselves and Queen's Park Rangers who have won the last 2 games.
A very positive time to be following the club. There's a real sense in there that a corner's been turned. We've sort of got our feet under the table in the Championship now. Yeah,
we're comfortable now. We know what we're doing. We know what we're about. And I think the results will come.
Thank you very much for listening. Join us next week at the same time. There is a podcast available as well, which you can find in the usual podcast places as well. Again, thank you very much for listening and enjoy the week.
And thank you to Pete and to Matt Cecil as well for arranging it all.
National and international news on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.